is a word, and that word comes to us from the Gospel according to John, chapter 11. The emphasis is going to be on verse 25, but I'm going to read verses 20 through 27. John chapter 11. I'm going to commence with verse 20, read through verse 27. The emphasis is on verse 25. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him. But Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection of the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she told him. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who was to come into the world. I am the resurrection and the life. Part 5. No matter who you are, where you've been, or what you've done, God loves you. As you are aware, I've been dealing with this series on the I am sayings of Jesus as recorded in the Gospel according to John. The first sermon in the series was I am the bread of life. The second, I am the light of the world. The third sermon was I am the door. The fourth one was I am the good shepherd. And today my topic is I am the resurrection and the life. Can I just take it easy today and talk with you a little while? I just want to reason with you today. I don't know if you've ever considered just how important that statement of Jesus is, but it's beyond being very important. It speaks to persons whose life situations appear to be beyond help. Sometimes a person can become so hopeless that he or she becomes filled with such inaction and disinterest that they become spiritually dead. In this statement of Jesus, he is saying that he can resurrect those people. Now that's worth hearing about. Life will throw you some curveballs, won't it? Anybody here ever had a curveball thrown to you? Things don't always go the way you hope they would. They don't always go the way you had planned them out. Sometimes life gets sidetracked. You get sidetracked and you end up in a place or a situation that you hadn't planned on. Some of the big sidetrackers can be illness, a relationship gone sour, marriage problems, death of a loved one, job loss, unexpected bill. These curveballs, these sidetracking situations can cause you to become discouraged and lose your sense of hope. At your convenience, I want you to go back and read chapter 11 of John again. It's an interesting chapter, and that chapter has a message in it that all of us need to hear from time to time. In the story that's contained in John chapter 11, I hope you'll be able to see that no matter how much life gets off track, even if you've messed up your entire life, there is hope in the resurrection. with God. So somebody needs to hear that today. So I'm going to say it again. Nothing is impossible with God. Now, the mistake I think that we make sometimes is when we start telling God and outlining to God what it is that we want him to do. God is free to choose which impossibility that he wants to deal with, but I think you need to know today that nothing is impossible with God. In this story, Jesus' friends, the friends of Jesus, Martha and Mary, had sent a message to him, letting him know that their brother Lazarus was sick. When Jesus received the message, rather than rushing to be with Martha and Mary, he stayed where he was, ministering for 2 more days. And when he arrived in Bethany, Lazarus, the beloved Lazarus, Martha and Mary's brother, had already been dead for 4 days. When Martha heard of the arrival of Jesus, she went to greet him. And her first words to him were, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." On one hand, her statement indicated her faith in the ability of Jesus to heal. If you were here, Jesus, surely you would have healed my brother. But there's an implied question in her statement. And that question is, why did you come when we told you our brother was sick? Where were you, Jesus? We let you know in plenty good time. Why are you just now getting here? Events hadn't happened the way Martha had anticipated. In her mind, she thought Jesus would show up and save the day. He would make everything better and heal her brother. But that didn't happen. Jesus didn't make it to Bethany in her time. He had purposely delayed his trip 2 extra days so he wouldn't show up until 4 days after Lazarus had been dead. Life wasn't going the way Martha had hoped. Her brother wasn't supposed to die. He was Jesus' good friend. How could Jesus allow something like this to happen to his good friend? Her expectations of Jesus had been shattered. I think I need to let you know something today. Sometimes, we get caught up. I think sometimes we get caught up too easily and too quickly on these cliches. Cliches and things sound good. They even sound true. But you ought to be careful about how you believe the cliche and forget to believe in the God. Sometimes we run around and we say, he may not show up when you want him, but he'll always come on time. Now that's a true statement. But what we really mean when we say that is that he'll show up in the nick of time to do what I want him to do. I think I need to let you know today, God doesn't always show up in the nick of your time. Sometimes God will allow tragedy to happen in your life. And while you're sitting there, standing there, laying there, crying and bawling, you're wondering where God is. God is right next to you, crying and bawling right along with you. Yeah. I don't know about you, but there have been some times in my life when I wondered, Lord, why did you let this happen to me? There have been some times when it felt like God had let me down. I know you say that sounds crazy, that sounds stupid for him to say that, but y'all know me, I just say stuff that you scared to think. Yeah, you thinking that you just scared to let it come up to the front of your brain because you think God will zap you or something. I need to let you know today, God ain't zapping you for stuff like that, because if he was, you'd have been zapped a long time ago. Yeah. Have you ever been there? Even when we knew that we deserved what we got, we just felt like God should have helped us out somehow. But I think I need to tell you, God doesn't respond the way we expect him to. He doesn't always respond the way we want him to. The songwriter said, Jesus knows all about our struggles. When I was a boy, I used to hear him sing that song, and I didn't really realize what he was talking about. But as I've learned and as I studied the scriptures and studied God's going through. Jesus has already gone through.